This video will be a tutorial of sorts, detailing step-by-step instructions on how to build this aquarium. I'll also explain my thought processes on creating custom decorations, so hopefully this will be applicable for your own uses. The first step is deciding on what you want to build and finding a reference photo for it. Since we're making an aquarium, let's go to Google and see what we can find. So we'll just type in home aquarium, which I misspelled, but that's okay. And we're just looking for a generic aquarium. Maybe something like this, or oh, this is a good one. We just want to get the defining characteristics of what makes an aquarium an aquarium. The defining characteristics is just to reinforce the idea that it's an aquarium, since we don't have an aquarium decoration. So some things are glass, it's rectangular, it has black cover on the top, there's plants and rocks, there's obviously fish, and there's fluorescent lighting. Now that we have our list, we need a hideout for it. So I think Orion's hideout would be good to emphasize the fluorescent lighting. Now that we have the hideout, you want to get decorations that will cover each of these points. If you haven't already, I suggest that you purchase one of each decoration and go through the different variations. It'll get much easier as you get more familiar with the different decorations. When choosing decorations, you want to take into account the shape of it, the height of it, the texture, slash material, slash color. So we're finally ready to start building the aquarium. One decoration that will fill out the first two criteria would be Orion's display case. This thing right here. So I'll just place it down right here and go to variation 8. If you haven't already known, if you hover over this, it'll tell you the hotkeys for the decorations. Whenever you press R, it'll rotate the decoration by 11.25 degrees. Rotation. And because I want to rotate this 45 degrees, we just have to press it 4 times. Next, we'll frame it. We're only going to use about half of the display case because of this thing inside of it. So we'll add a wall and make it aligned with the display case as well, like that. Usually aquariums have a blue background, but unfortunately for us, there isn't that many blue decorations. There is one that will work though, which is the flag. So we'll bring it over here, rotate it, and we want the one that isn't flying around, and we'll get 2 of them. It's okay if it's clipping like this, but we don't want the clipping on the top, so we'll have to get the Sarn archway and push it up a bit. Like that, and then we have to cover these sides as well. For the sides, we'll use pillars. I think these are Katarina's pillars, and we'll go to variation 6. And then we also need to cover up this top part. The higher in elevation you go, the less options you'll have, especially for overhangs, since we don't want to block the bottom here. So we'll use this black pillar from Orion, which should enable us. to cover the top without covering the bottom, like that. The final thing we have to do before we're done with the base is the cover, the black cover on the top. There's only one decoration that I found that would have the correct elevation that we need for the cover, and that is the dark cargo wagon. Variation 5. I'm gonna rotate this around. And with that, we're done. Now we'll do the interior of the aquarium, which is plants and rocks. This is a nice reference photo. It has a bunch of different greens, some contrast with reds, and some white on the bottom. And Toro sells a lot of foliage, so I think the lush tree is nice. Can get a good elevation on it. Maybe something like this. And then we'll use some bushes. The regular trees also offer different types of greens. And now we'll add some rocks. Prayer stones offer some clearance above the display case base. And finally we'll add some color. We'll add some white from webbed remains, and it'll also give us some movement from these poor guys. For the reds, there's a lot of furniture from Zana and Elrion. Next we'll add some fish to the aquarium, because we only have these dead fish, which we couldn't use anyway because of the base of the display case. We have to think outside of the box in terms of how we can get the illusion of fish. I've thought a long time about what would be a good fish decoration, including pets. These wouldn't work, the ones on the ground, because the display case. Some of the flying pets might work, but it's not really ideal because of the, well, it's MTX and because they don't really look like fish. But there is one decoration that will give the illusion, which is Zana. These little red bits kind of look like fish, so we'll bring her over here. And there's also Tora, which has these little leaves. There are some particle effects decorations that might be seen as fish, such as glowing embers, but I think these are too big to use inside of the aquarium. There is, however, wisps. And if we use one of the corner ones, we can move it up here like that. This is an MTX item, so not everyone will have access to it, but it's fairly cheap. We can also make some bubbles using the copper chest. The second and third variation have these little blue specks that fly off, and we can stack it to increase the effect. The last thing on our checklist is the fluorescent lighting. If we look at the images, it's mostly bluish. Most of the light sources from decorations are orange, which wouldn't look that good for our aquarium. There is a blue light source with the waypoint as well as a birdcage. This would actually be an ideal lighting for us, but the strength is too weak. So we'd either have to have it right on top or not use it. There is, however, the MTX wide light beam, which gives us white light. I think this one is pretty cheap as well, especially on sale. Now all that's left is to clean it up a bit. We have some leaves sticking out here, this branch, some of the cobwebs, and this. And with that, I think this aquarium is complete. This is a bit of an experimental video for me. I think if it turns out well, then I might do a series on creating an entire hideout. I hope you learned something and you can apply these steps to your own hideouts and decorations.